Hi everyone, just thought I'd do a quick video blog to update on this Thursday's industrial action. Just to take away some key points of learning. If you need to jet off and you only have a few seconds, this is what you need to know. There's three major unions striking on Thursday. It's not just lecturers and academics, it's also support staff, cleaners, porters, that kind of thing. We can't really predict what precise areas of the university will be affected, so do assume that the university is open as usual and that your lectures are happening unless otherwise told. I'm Rob, I'm this year's President of the Students' Union. If you have any follow-up questions, queries, you can get in touch on Twitter, robj_Griffiths. What might happen and how might this affect you? That's the kind of key question we've been getting from students. We're not sure. The university can't predict who's going to be on strike because, by the laws of striking, employees aren't obliged to tell the university beforehand whether they're going to be striking. And so this means the experience on Thursday will vary wildly for students across the university. It could really be anywhere from this will barely affect you, everything will go on as usual, all the way through to the buildings won't even be open in the mornings because the porters didn't turn up to open them. So at the moment the official line from the university is to turn up, go to your lectures, assume it's business as usual. There will almost certainly be picket lines. We have no reason to think there'll be anything other than polite. And it's always your decision whether you want to cross them or not. The Students' Union does not currently have an official stance on the strike. The officer team will be seeking an official mandate to support the strike on Tuesday. But I suppose because the treatment of our staff directly impacts on the future quality of higher education. But this is of course a democratic organisation, so we'll be discussing this at Student Council on Tuesday evening, and anyone is welcome to attend and contribute. And we would really encourage you, if you're not going or if you want to come anyway, to talk to your representatives beforehand about how they'll be voting on the evening. Question from a student: will my missed lectures be rearranged? Maybe, maybe not. It's actually up to your lecturer. The point of a strike is to make an impact on the institution, and it's not really much of a problem to the university if all the missed teaching will be rearranged. You can kind of think about it from this point of view, the university relies on staff to deliver two things: research activity, so the kind of generation of new knowledge, and teaching, assessment, feedback for students. And in industrial action like this, it's staff's decision to withhold either part or all of that labour. What's the problem? Let's get into the bit of background here. I won't go into too much detail, but very simply, wages have not increased in line with inflation. So, and there are other factors in play here, like instability in the pension schemes and the pay gap between management and workers, but the wages thing is kind of the primary reason for striking. So staff have been offered 1% pay rise upon last year, whereas inflation is running at about 3%. So that means kind of in real terms, staff are experiencing a pay cut. And importantly, this is not the first year this has happened. This pay discrepancy has happened every year for the last 5 years. And that totals 13% real terms cut for UK university staff over that period. And I suppose that's the point here. It's not just a Bristol thing, it's a national thing. University staff pay is negotiated nationally. So this industrial action is happening across the country. Why can't we give our staff more money? Because the government says we can't. And although universities actually operate in a kind of quasi-public environment, the government have drawn up their cuts policies to include universities. So that means that if we paid our staff more money, then the government would pull the equivalent amount of money from our research grants that they give us every year. So that kind of leads to the obvious question. It kind of feels like this strike is aimed at the universities when maybe it should be aimed at government. And I've painted just then quite a black and white picture of what is a colourful issue. The strikes are about staff leaning on their employers, so the universities, to start wielding some of their extraordinary influence in UK politics, to kind of speak up against government cuts to higher education. So by striking and proving that institutions need their staff, to kind of keep the show on the road, the intent is to make sure that universities become a bit more vocal about government policy. Is there not a way that staff can demonstrate malcontent but without impacting on students' educations? My interpretation of this is that this is about staff reclaiming power, reinforcing the point that universities are a partnership and we need to value everyone's contribution fairly. A sustained attack on a sector like this will lead to poor standards of provision, a national brain drain, and a lower valuation of academia as a career option will erode the quality of education provision in this country. So in the short term, the way staff are protesting about these things will unfortunately mean impacts on students' educations. But a one-day strike has limited impact, and some of the other options for industrial action would have much bigger consequences for students. And it's our challenge and it's our debate to have, as the student body of Bristol, about whether we're prepared to take a small amount of inconvenience to take a kind of principled stance to protect the future of higher education in this country. And we'll be talking more about this at Student Council on Tuesday evening. Come and join in the fun.